I saw this.
Hey, I resent that.
I saw this older guy, older gentleman. He was riding like, I don't know, it was like a little Honda. Anyways, he was like, "Hey, you want to go ride really quick?" And I was like, "Sure, why not?" So I rode behind him, and he started doing wheelies. We were going like 30, 40. Yeah, I was going like 30, 40 miles an hour, and he starts popping his bike up, and I was like, "Whoa, what's this guy doing?" And he takes his hat off, or he takes his helmet off, and he looks like Santa Claus. I'm like, "Whoa."
Hey, Kevin, back when I was like about 20 some years old, I used to road bike a lot. That's before I got fat and old. There was a guy I used to ride with on a road bike. The guy was 80 some years old, and I finally quit riding with him because I couldn't keep up with him. I couldn't. We go riding 20 miles an hour. 20 miles, 25 miles a day. And after about 15 miles, I was exhausted, and he was still going. It was crazy. And then I had, when I was managing a bunch of camera shop, one of our reps that would come in, he was in his mid-80s. He would still snow ski, but he rode a Harley. And he would come down. He would come into our shop like twice a month on his Harley in the summertime, still riding in his mid-80s, and it would freak me out. And then 2 summers ago, when we were going through Virginia City in Nevada, I was talking to a guy in his mid-80s that he still commutes between Virginia City and Reno. And he still rode his Harley, and he didn't have a car. And
I'll be lucky to be above ground at that age.
Yeah, right. But you know what? I come to a conclusion, seriously, that I think riding a bike does one thing: it keeps you younger, it keeps your mind focused, and I think it keeps a lot of people living longer than if they weren't.
And
I totally agree.
And that's what I said about the adrenaline thing. It keeps your adrenaline going.
It definitely does. I was thinking about this. Thank you for reminding me of this. I'm not sure if it's because I was raised in a big, crazy city. Boston drivers are notorious for being the most aggressive drivers around. And Lynn, Mass is even worse than Boston. And you kind of get this sixth sense when you're when you're driving in Boston. When you're going down the road, you are hyper aware because somebody can come at you from any angle at any time. So you're always looking around, and you can see when you get this kind of sixth sense. Like I said, the guy in the right lane that you're coming up on, you're in the left lane, and let's say it's a three lane road, and you're in the left lane, and you're passing this guy who is in the middle lane. And you're looking at the guy, and you've got your hand covering the horn already because you know that this guy could just jerk over to the left any second. But you can tell just by the way the car is moving and the head position of the person that you can see through the window what they're going to do. And you're ready. And I think that was the best training ever because when I'm on the motorcycle, I can see these things that a lot of people might not pay attention to, and I say, "Oh, that guy's going to come over. You watch," and then boom, they come over, or this guy's going to try to pass me and cut me off. So this kind of, we call it mass hole driving where I'm from. I think that was wonderful motorcycle training, and I think having that ability, that preternatural sense of what other people are going to do, not only serves you as a rider, but also that awareness. You have to keep doing it. You have to get out there and ride and do that a lot to keep that because it keeps you young. It keeps your brain going. And I think it's very important to not, don't let like a month go where you don't ride, even if it's cold and crappy. Get out there just to get those skills honed and then go home and clean the shit out of your bike.
Well, that's one thing I find because doing the group rides I have done for one of the dealers up here, that I would find a lot of people who, I hate to say it, they only ride like 2-3 months out of the year. They scare me when you do a group ride because they're so, how can I say, they're unsafe. They never develop their full potential of riding skills, and you have to ride on a regular basis. I mean, there's been so many times I could have gotten killed if I only rode part-time. But by riding all the time, I know how to avoid a lot of things. Except for that rock that time that got me. But I mean, there's been so many times you anticipate the guy next to you or the person in front of you. I also, I do not ride close to people. I stay back farther than a lot of people. And a lot of my friends say, Gary, come on, don't be so far behind me, or don't be so far behind the car in front of. I'd rather have a little bit more distance. And sure enough, that has saved my butt so many times in the past.
Oh, yeah.
Because it gave me enough time to maneuver.
That's true. You have to have that distance. As a motorcycle rider, it makes you a better car driver, too. Because you keep that greater distance, and you're always watching. Every vehicle you see is, how is this son of a bitch going to try to kill me? If it's a truck, if it's a pickup truck, you're like, what's going to fly out of the back of this thing? If it's a car, are they going to swerve? Are they going to go this way, that way? You never know what the hell's going to happen. I was at a red light once, and I had a full car length between me and the old lady who was in the car in front of me, sitting at a red light. And all of a sudden, the reverse lights come on, and she starts backing up toward me during a red light. I'm like, what the hell are you doing, lady? And I'm beeping at her, and I'm realizing, holy shit, I wish I had a reverse gear on this. That would have helped because there was a car right at my ass. But this lady starts backing up toward me, and if I had been right behind her, she would have backed up over me.
Oh, yeah.
But because there was that space, and I was able to beep, she realized what she was doing, and she stopped. To this day, I don't know what the hell she was thinking. Why would you back up like that? I don't understand.
Most people don't think.
Concrete. Anyway. Yeah, people are crazy, and when you're a motorcycle rider, you have to constantly have in your head that people are completely crazy, and they don't pay attention. It's like they get behind the wheel, and they don't realize, though, when you're driving or riding, your only job is to drive or ride.
But
it's not to fiddle with the radio and call your friend and text your buddy. It's to fucking ride or drive and not die or kill anybody.
I've seen people texting while riding a motorcycle. I've seen those people. Yeah. That's crazy shit.
Well, I won't. That's one thing I hate about my Harley, the info system. I'll be riding, all of a sudden I get a phone call. I ignore it. I just ignore it. It doesn't exist. When I'm on my bike, I don't care who's calling me. The Pulp can be calling me. I don't care. It doesn't exist. Hey.
Yeah.
So another question: how's your love in your life, except you riding a bike?
Oh, that's a good question. My ex-wife was anti-motorcycle. She tried to ride a couple times with me, and she was afraid of it. And she generally thought it cost way more than was acceptable. She gone. And now my girlfriend, we've been together 5 years now, and she rode on my Road King one time and didn't like it and has never ridden with me again. But she's not against my riding, which is great. Because if she were, she'd be gone too. Nobody comes between me and riding my motorcycle. That's. I think you got to suss it out with a woman first, or if you're a girl, you suss it out with your dude. Are you okay with my riding? Because if you're not, then we are not compatible. That's something that has to be said at the beginning.
Well, I've been married this time over 40 years now. My first marriage lasted 2.5 years. My second marriage lasted very shortly. She knew I was into motorcycles. I had at that point a Kawasaki. God, I think it was like a 350. God, I can't even think. It was not much of a bike back then. And me and my friends, we'd go out biking. And, when we were dating for 6 months before we got married, she was really for me riding my bike. As soon as we got married, like 2 days later, her mother came over to our apartment and said, hey, she doesn't want you to ride your motorcycle anymore. and she doesn't like your friends because they're bikers, and they actually were bikers. And the next thing I know, my motorcycle wouldn't start. Well,
really?
Yeah. Well, then I take it to the guy who worked on my bikes, and he goes, "Well, somebody poured water in your gas tank."
Oh my God!
Yeah. Well, then things got worse, and then I just said, "Hey, look, Debbie, this marriage is over," and that was the end of the marriage. I walked out of that marriage. Then
that is sacrilege.
No. The bad part is, then a month or two later, she called me up and she goes, "I changed." Because I really liked her, and so we went out a few times, and we got married again.
Oh, wow.
And we got married again, and I woke up the next morning after we got married. I looked at her, and I said, "Can I get a motorcycle?" And she goes, "No." I said, "Okay, we're going to go see my attorney tomorrow, and we're going to get the marriage annulled," and that's exactly what we did.
Wow. Yeah, that's one of those things where you have to have that out with the person that you're with, and they have to be honest. If you're really if motorcycling is your life, and you refuse to give that up for anybody, then you need to let that person know. And if they're not cool with it, then they need to go on down the road, because that's just the way it goes. Like that old joke, my wife said it was me or the motorcycle. I'll sure miss her. And that's really true. I mean, nobody will come between me and my motorcycle. Just like nobody will come between me and my dogs. And I will never, ever date or marry a Yankee fan. Sorry, just ain't going to happen.
Hey, that makes total logical sense. It's just like my wife of 40 years. I mean, when I told her, "Hey, look, I want a motorcycle." And I explained to her, I said, "Look, I used to ride a motorcycle. I want a motorcycle." You know what? She said, "Go for it." But she said, I'm never going to get on it. And then, all of a sudden, it took years, but all of a sudden, one day she goes, "I want to ride on it." And she rode on it, and she liked it, and we had fun till she went flying. But you know what? God, it takes the right type of person, and when a person's in a relationship, your wants and desires should not, you shouldn't have to sacrifice it. And,
exactly.
And riding a motorcycle, I don't know if it's a disease or what, but all I know is when I ride a motorcycle, I feel at peace, if that makes any sense. I feel...
Oh, totally.
Yeah, and it fills a void in my life that nothing else has been able to fulfill. Even sex.
Yep.
Riding a bike has done something for me that nothing else has ever been able to do.
Yes, I completely agree. It's a calling. Riding a motorcycle is a calling, and if you hear the calling and you get seduced by it, it's something that you will have in your life. And I will ride a motorcycle as long as I live. I mean, I don't want to ever have a time in my life without one. And if I can't hold a bike up anymore for some reason because I'm old and weak and dizzy, I'll get a trike. I don't give a shit. I'm going to be out there on that goddamn road because it's part of my life. It's in my blood, and I'm never going to leave it.
Well,
I absolutely adore it.
Well, even after I crashed, I was like, I need to get a new bike. I didn't even care about how fucked my face was or how messed up my legs or arms were. I was just like, I need to get a new bike.
When he actually had a shoulder surgery, right? He was in a cast, right? With his arm in a cast, right? Yeah. Guess what he was doing? Guess what he was doing?
Motorcycle shopping.
No, he was riding.
No, I was actually riding.
Oh, nice. Even better.
I took my bike out several times, like, even after the crash, too. Like, I had a Kawasaki Vulcan 1500. I had two bikes at the time. Well, technically one, because I crashed my other one. So, after my crash, I would still go out and ride. I'd take my other bikes out and just still go out